Is it possible that a person's deepest wounds are not stored in their heart, but instead etched clearly into the skin we have long admired as a symbol of perfection? That question suddenly shook the global timeline when a simple post from the fan account at Dailyj Praise on Platform X on December 25, 2025, exploded into an international conversation, forcing the public to see Jungkook no longer merely as an idol with flawless visuals, but as a human being with an emotional history that is slowly being revealed, ink by ink. The post titled Jungkook's Tattoo Evolution was not just a photo collage. It appeared like a clue, like a small door opening into a silent room that the BTS magne himself had never spoken about out loud. 3 photos were displayed side by side, showing Jungkook's right arm from 2019, 2023, and 2025. But who would have thought that a series of images that looked purely aesthetic would spark a much bigger question? Why do Jungkook's tattoos keep changing, becoming denser, more colorful, more daring? Is this merely a matter of artistic taste? Or is there something far more personal, even painful, that he is trying to hide behind designs that look cool? Within hours, the post surpassed 16,000 likes and thousands of retweets, proving that the public was not only looking at Jungkook, but also trying to read Jungkook. In the first photo from 2019, Jungkook's tattoos still appeared plain, simple, and somewhat defensive. The dominance of black ink with small symbols such as the word ARMY on his knuckles, the number 0613, and shapes that many fans interpreted as clouds or a moon with a wolf-like face, created an initial impression that was almost naive. At this stage, Jungkook had only begun to reveal a small portion of what was etched on his body. He still frequently covered his arms at official events, concerts, and television broadcasts. In South Korea's conservative K-pop industry, tattoos are not merely accessories but stigma. Thus, Jungkook's bravery at the time felt half-hearted, as if he wanted to say something but was still unsure whether the world was ready to hear it. Yet this is precisely where the first surprise lies. The word ARMY on his knuckles, which for some might look like excessive fan service, according to various sources including kprofiles.com, represents a deep form of respect Jungkook holds for his fans. This is not a marketing strategy. It is an emotional bond permanently preserved. The number 0613, referring to BTS's debut date, June 13, 2013, is not merely a reminder of a career milestone, but a symbol of rebirth, from an ordinary teenager into a global figure whose life no longer fully belongs to himself. From the very beginning, Jungkook's tattoos carried messages far heavier than what appeared on the surface. A significant shift began to emerge in the second photo from 2023. At this stage, Jungkook's tattoos were no longer black and white and silent. Color entered the picture. Geometric patterns layered with the striking phrase, "Never let go." As if screaming from beneath his skin, this phrase triggered wide emotional speculation. Never let go of what? Of whom? Of dreams, of the past, of pain, or of the fear of loss itself? Some fans interpreted it as a message to ARMY, an unspoken vow to stay together. Others, however, began to see it as a psychological reflection of Jungkook himself, an artist who grew up under extreme scrutiny from a very young age, and was rarely given space to fail as a human being. It was also during this period that the name Pollock began to be mentioned frequently. This well-known tattoo artist was credited by fans and media such as pinkvilla.com as the figure behind the dramatic improvement in the artistic quality of Jungkook's tattoos. But was Pollock's role purely technical? Or did he also become a silent listener? A place where Jungkook translated emotions he could not verbalize into visual symbols? The world may never know the conversations behind the needle and the ink, but the final results speak far louder than words ever could. Interestingly, this phase coincided with BTS's hiatus for mandatory military service during 2022 to 2023, a period that the public often interpreted as a break, yet many pop culture analysts considered a phase of identity crisis. Jungkook, who for years had been known as the Golden Magne, a perfectionist, and the group's symbol of joy, suddenly stood alone. In his solo works such as Seven and Golden, he appeared more mature, more daring, and more open. His tattoos followed the same direction. He no longer hid. He began to speak, even without a voice. Several other symbols etched onto his arm further reinforced this narrative. The tiger lily, Jungkook's birth flower, which in the Korean language of flowers means "please love me," became one of the most emotional elements. Why would a global megastar choose a symbol that carries a plea for love? Is it merely aesthetic, or an indirect confession that behind massive popularity, there remains a basic human need that has not been fully fulfilled? The purple heart symbol, often associated with the phrase, "I purple you," coined by V, adds another emotional layer, linking the tattoos not only to Jungkook's individual journey but also to the bond between the BTS members. When the third photo from 2025 appeared, the next shock was inevitable. Jungkook's arm was now filled with blue, green, and red hues in compositions that were far bolder and more complex. Graffiti elements merged with motifs that several art observers said were inspired by ancient Japanese ink art such as suminagashi, a flowing ink technique that emphasizes irregularity and spontaneity. Is this a coincidence? Or is Jungkook celebrating the chaos he had long suppressed? The 2025 version looks mature, full, almost noisy. As if every story he once whispered is now being shouted without fear, fan reactions reflected just how emotional this moment was. Replies such as, "Such an authentic tattoos he has," from at Ala did it first, and comments like, "Thank God for pulling the van," from at conveyed relief and even gratitude. As if fans realized that Jungkook had finally found the right language to express himself. Yet beneath the praise, anxiety emerged. Some wondered whether the tattoo truth had been covered up, or whether the 2019 photo truly represented the beginning, as some fans remembered a Korean tiger tattoo as the first one. These questions only reinforced one thing. The public no longer sees Jungkook's tattoos as ornaments, but as a living archive that continues to evolve. It is at this point that the true meaning begins to surface. The evolution of Jungkook's tattoos is not merely an aesthetic journey, but a psychological journey of an individual who grew up under global pressure, conservative cultural norms, and expectations that were nearly inhuman. From hesitant black ink to colors that scream, each phase holds emotions he never openly voiced. And perhaps that is precisely where the power of the story lies. When words are no longer enough, Jungkook chooses his own skin as the medium of confession. Thus, entering the period after 2022, the whisper transformed into a voice that became increasingly impossible to ignore. The question is no longer what he tattoos onto his body, but why he now chooses to let it be seen, even displayed without regret. Is this merely a change in taste of a star who is growing more mature? Or is it a sign that Jungkook has reached a point where hiding himself feels more painful than the risk of being judged by the public? To understand this shift, the public cannot separate it from the broader context that surrounds Jungkook both as an individual and as a cultural symbol. Since BTS's debut in 2013, Jungkook has grown up in front of the camera, transforming from an innocent teenage boy into a global figure who has almost never been given room to fail, to be angry, or even to be fragile. Every movement is analyzed, every expression interpreted, and every silence filled with assumptions. In such an ecosystem, the body often becomes the only private territory one can fully claim. Yet even that territory in South Korea's K-pop culture that still views tattoos as controversial is not truly safe. This is where the evolution of Jungkook's tattoos begins to feel like a statement. In 2019, when his tattoos first began to surface publicly, the response was far from entirely friendly. There were whispers about a damaged idol image, concerns from the agency, and unwritten rules about what could and could not be done by the magne of the world's biggest group. Jungkook chose a half-open strategy, tattooing himself, yet continuing to conceal it. A psychological compromise commonly experienced by many young public figures, caught between the desire to be oneself and the obligation to meet collective expectations. But time moves on, and wounds that are suppressed for too long always find a way to surface. BTS's hiatus for mandatory military service in 2022 to 2023 became a significant turning point. For the first time in a decade, Jungkook did not have to stand in the same group formation, did not have to share the weight of a collective identity, and did not have to be the youngest before the world. In that relative solitude, changes began to feel deeper. His tattoos evolved not only visually but symbolically. The phrase "never let go," which became clearly visible in the 2023 phase, emerged as one of the strongest symbols of this period. Many fans interpreted it as a promise to ARMY, an emotional commitment that even during BTS's hiatus, the bond would not be broken. However, alternative interpretations began to surface among more critical observers. Never Let Go could just as easily be directed at himself, a reminder not to release his identity, his dreams, or even the pain that shaped him. In the psychology of self-expression, messages like this often emerge from individuals who have long suppressed their emotions in order to survive within systems that demand perfection. Another symbol often overlooked by the general public is the choice of colors that began to dominate Jungkook's tattoos. Blue, green, and red are not random. In many Eastern art traditions, these colors represent the balance of nature, emotion, and inner conflict. Blue is often associated with calmness and depth, green with growth and healing, while red is synonymous with passion, anger, and life itself. The combination of all three on Jungkook's body seems to depict an emotional spectrum he has long experienced in silence. References to ancient Japanese art such as summonagashi, as mentioned by several fans and social media sources, further open new layers of interpretation. Summonagashi, the art of flowing ink on water before transferring it onto paper, emphasizes unpredictability and the acceptance of naturally formed shapes. If Jungkook was indeed inspired by this philosophy, then his tattoos can be read as an acceptance of the imperfections in his own life. Not every line needs to be straight, and not every story needs to be neat. The name Pollock once again emerged as a key figure in this phase. More than just a tattoo artist, Pollock is considered by many fans to be a catalyst for transformation. Comments such as "Thank God for Polyonythy Dam," widely circulated online, are not merely technical praise, but expressions of relief that Jungkook finally found someone capable of translating the complexity of his emotions into a cohesive visual form. In the tattoo world, the relationship between artist and client is often intimate. Each session is not just about design, but about stories, trauma, and trust. The fact that Jungkook entrusted his body to Pollock on such a scale suggests a process far more personal than it appears. Yet this transformation also gave rise to new anxiety among fans. Questions emerged about whether the word truth still exists on his arm or has been covered. There were also debates about the order of his earliest tattoos, with some fans recalling a Korean tiger tattoo as the very first. These debates may seem trivial, but they actually reflect a collective effort to reconstruct Jungkook's narrative as a whole. Each symbol is treated like a puzzle piece that, when assembled correctly, is believed to reveal a larger truth about who he is. At this point, Jungkook's tattoos no longer stand merely as individual works of art, but as cultural texts read and interpreted by millions. His body has become a kind of open archive, a place where the public seeks meaning, comfort, and even justification for their own emotions. For some ARMY, seeing Jungkook increasingly open with his tattoos feels like validation that vulnerability is not weakness. For others, it stirs sorrow and even pain, realizing that the idol they believed was always fine has been carrying a heavy emotional burden. Approaching 2025, when the latest images show Jungkook's arm almost entirely filled with complex designs, one thing becomes clear. There is no longer any empty space he wants to hide. Every inch of tattooed skin seems to declare that he has made peace with scrutiny, criticism, and the past that shaped him. This is no longer an experimental phase but a declaration of identity. Yet paradoxically, this is precisely where new questions arise. The clearer the tattoos become, the more unanswered questions remain. Does this openness signal healing? Or is it proof that old wounds are still speaking? Are the colors now adorning his arm a sign of freedom, or a new mask for deeper pain? This chapter shows that Jungkook's journey has not yet reached its final line. He has only just crossed the threshold where silence is no longer an option, and as the world awaits BTS's full reunion in 2026, one emotional question continues to linger in the public mind. If these tattoos are the story of Jungkook's life, then what chapters have we yet to read, and will the final chapter bring relief, or an even more piercing confession? As the world prepares for BTS's full reunion in 2026, Jungkook's tattoos stand as quiet markers of a long journey rarely spoken about. With complete honesty, there is no press conference, no official statement that neatly explains the meaning behind the ink now covering his arm. Yet it is precisely within this absence of explanation that the story feels most human. Jungkook does not choose to explain. He chooses to reveal. And perhaps for someone raised within a system that demands perfection, revealing oneself as one truly is becomes the highest form of courage. Each symbol etched into his skin now functions like a fragment of memory that refuses to be erased. The tattoos do not ask for sympathy, but they do not reject empathy either. They stand as a silent admission that the path to becoming a global icon is never free from loss, pressure, and a slowly accumulating loneliness. For Jungkook, his body has become the final canvas, a space where he no longer needs to adjust his words to expectations or soften his emotions for the sake of an image. Notably, the response from fans worldwide, including ARMY in Indonesia, signals a significant shift in how idols are perceived. Jungkook is no longer seen solely as a symbol of perfection, but as a mirror reflecting the vulnerabilities of many. In this context, his tattoos serve a dual purpose: as a deeply personal form of expression, and as an emotional bridge between an artist and fans who carry their own unspoken wounds. Perhaps this is the true meaning slowly coming to light. Jungkook's tattoos are not about rebellion, nor are they merely modern aesthetics. They are a living archive of a human being learning to accept himself under the unrelenting gaze of the world. And if one day Jungkook chooses to speak openly about all of this, the world may hear him differently. But if he does not, the ink itself has already spoken enough that in the end, one lingering question remains. Can wounds etched into the skin ever truly heal? Or do we simply learn to live alongside stories that cannot be erased? Jungkook appears to have chosen his answer. He does not erase them. He rewrites them.